What's up, guys? Phase 2 of Boulder 2021. I'm Coach Emily.
Coach Dylan.
I'm Park.
How are we doing? You guys doing all right?
I'm doing well. It's kind of weird talking to each other in this straight line like this, but all in all, yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm psyched to talk about some earning those carbs.
All right, guys. So the last podcast that we did, Park and I kind of went through what our favorite part has been of Boulder 2021. We went through kind of what our toughest part has been, and I'm going to direct that question to Coach Dylan over here. Dylan, what has been your most favorite part of the last 30 days?
I think just having some regimen and routine has been super helpful in my life, and just having kind of being held accountable is really what I've really enjoyed about Boulder 2021. It hasn't gotten too hard yet. I think water and spending a little bit of time away from the busy day has been a little bit more challenging, but it hasn't been too hard just yet, but I'm sure that'll change in this next phase.
All right, guys, that's great. Moving into our next question.
Whoa, you don't have to
You've
ask
already
me?
answered. He has already answered. He talks enough.
Wow.
It puts us in a great space to start talking about phase 2. It's going to get a little tougher. I would like Park to talk on this a little bit. It's really time to look at yourself in the mirror and make a decision. Make a decision on who you want to be. How do you want the next 30 days to go? Park, what do you have to say on this?
Yeah, so I think phase 2, we've talked a lot. We're actually just in here talking a lot about kind of what it is that we're trying to achieve for Boulder 2021. I know we've talked a lot about this, but what we're really trying to accomplish is cutting through the bullshit. And we might have to bleep that out, but we're being totally honest. We are trying to present all of this information so that you have the tools needed to really, as Emily said, I like that a lot, look yourself in the mirror and align or question, do my goals align with my habits, my disciplines, my day, my eating, my fitness, my all of that. And if your goal is to be in the absolute best shape that you possibly can, it's a long road, it's going to take some time, it's going to take a lot of discipline, it's going to take saying no to a lot of things and getting to bed a little bit earlier than you might have or whatever. There's going to be a litany of things, but it's 100% possible, especially with the tools that we're giving you here. So earning your carbs, and I'm gonna bounce this over to Dylan pretty quickly here, but earning your carbs is really making sure that, actually, how about let's start this. Dylan, what do carbs do? What are we using carbs for?
Carbs are basically like sugars. It's carbs are sugars. It's our kind of our main form of energy. It's what our body breaks down really easily, and it has an effect on our blood sugar, and then it can affect our insulin levels. You can get into like a whole mess of like sciencey terms, but we break them down really fast, and we use them for energy. So timing when we eat our carbs can be pretty beneficial.
It can be huge. It can be the game changer between. How about this? If we don't use our carbs, what do they turn into?
If you're eating too many of them and you're eating too many calories, you can store it as fat.
It's fat, unwanted fat. So what we're going to really focus on in the next 30 days, and I kind of took this over, I want you guys to talk more than I am, but what we're really going to focus on in the next 30 days, and really the next 60 days, but the next 30 days is using our carbs the way they were meant to be used, and no other way. And if we can really, really dial that in, we promise you, and it's probably time to take that before and after picture, we promise you, if you can dial this in, you are going to see some serious results. This is something that Dylan, myself, Emily has definitely done. We understand how to use our carbs, and it can go a long way. Direct question, explain this. I guess it's Dylan, right? Explain to us a little bit of what we're going to be doing over the next 30 days.
Really, we're just timing. It all comes down to nutrient timing. It really depends on your goals in general. So we're going to try and set like a calorie goal that you're trying to hit each day. And then the makeup of those calories between your fats, your carbs, and your proteins will make up those calories. And how you eat those throughout the days is pretty important. We're really looking to have our carbs right before our workout or just after our workout. It really depends on your schedule and what works best for you. And the days we're not doing so much high intensity or like a hard workout, we're sticking more to proteins, fats, and just a little bit of carbs. We won't take out carbs completely, but just having that timing of those nutrients is really it can be really important.
Dylan, how many carbs are we looking to get on a high carb day or high intensity day?
Really depends on the workout, but and your goals a little bit in general, but I think having a range between 150 and 200 grams, this is where tracking your nutrients is really going to come into play. We have a challenge this week where we're going to track our nutrients Monday through Friday. Having an app or something just to be able to see that type of stuff is super helpful. But give or take, 150 to 200 is probably a high carb day. It can be a little bit more if you're looking to build muscle. I would stick a little bit shorter if you're looking to lose a little bit of weight.
And a rest day. What would a rest day look like?
The rest day would probably be, I think, less than 75. I know everybody's a little bit different, but stepping over 100 calories or 100 grams of carbs is high carb. So we're trying to stay under 75. There's still some in there. That's a pretty big leeway, but under 75 I think is good for a low carb day.
So maybe let's play that out a little bit. I might be jumping on your question here, but maybe let's play that out just a little bit. All right, so I am going to come in for my the workout that I'm doing today is the Boulder 60 noon class. So on that day, I know I'm going to come in, I'm going to really hit that 60 hard. It's a high intensity day. It's not a strength focused day. It's more of like really pushing the tempo. What would you do trying to get your carbs surrounding that noon Boulder 60 workout?
I have breakfast. Try and get some of my carbs at breakfast. I think it depends on when you wake up and what time you're eating, but I would try my breakfast in the morning. Say I eat around 8 or so, have eggs, avocado, and then some carbs in there. I usually do like an English muffin or something. You just have to watch the grains and stuff. But English muffin or sweet potatoes or some good rice to fill up some of those carbs there, and then I'd be tracking the amount given whatever it is I'm eating. But trying to get about 50% of my carbs there. Do the workout, and then afterwards, that's when I get the rest of my carbs, the next 40 to 50% for lunch. I have, I don't know, whatever, protein, fats, and then just make up the rest of those grams of carbs there, 80 to 100 there. And then dinner, I have a lower carb meal because I already got my carbs earlier in the day.
Park, I want you to talk on what constitutes a low intensity day. What constitutes a low carb day? A lot of times people will come and they work out and they're like, man, I really, really, really worked hard, and then I'm going to go on a hike, and then I'm going to go on a bike ride. That to me would constitute high intensity.
Yeah,
what would you say is a low intensity day?
You know, I'd push back on that just a little bit. I agree it's a high intensity day, but each one of those efforts one can be high intensity and one can be lower intensity. So really it's, I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but if you pushed, like if you really pushed, if your heart rate was getting, I don't know, for me it's probably, my workouts will average somewhere between probably like a 155 average to a 165 average, I would say, maybe spiking to about 175. I would consider that a pretty high intensity workout. Now yours is going to be a little bit different. If you don't track this, it's going to be a little hard to base that, but you know, if you like went all out, I would consider that a high intensity effort. Now let's say I'm going to go out and I'm just going to go for a long walk with my dog. That's still an effort. That's still there. But my heart rate, I never really was using those glycogen stores. Is that correct? I never really used those glycogen stores. I stayed at a very low heart rate the entire time. It's great. It's exercise. It's definitely counting towards my goals of being fit and healthy and active. Vitamin D, I mean, it's all very important, but it definitely didn't constitute necessarily as high intensity. Now, on the day that you just described, that would be my attempt to try and get my 200 calories of carb, or I'm sorry, 200 grams, thank you, my 200 grams of carbs that day. That's a big, big day. And I would still try and concentrate my carbs earlier to start my day, because I know I'm going to end up using them, and then really focused around my workout. We might be able to add on to that a little bit. Like my go-to post-workout carb protein combination is an RX bar, a coconut water, and a coconut water with protein in that. And what did we decide that was? It was something like 40 grams of carbs or something like that?
I think it was like 47 grams of carbs.
Yeah, 47 grams of carbs right there. So if I'm trying to get my low day of 70 to 80 grams, is that right? 75, roughly 75 grams of carbs. Well, guys, I'm already almost tapped into that carb right, or my carb limit for the day right there in that. So it's something that we're going to really have to pay attention to. Did I got to ramble a little? Did I answer that question?
Absolutely.
Let me add on to this real quick. Why are we tracking for a week? And I know we already put out a video of that, but I know this, guys, tracking for a week can kind of be a nuisance. We don't want this to be something that you do for the rest of your life. but do you actually know how many calories you're truly getting? So touch on that a little. Like, what's the point of us really tracking this for a week?
It's really so we can be able to eyeball it later. I hate tracking. I hate using an app and tracking everything that I have. But I think having the data and actually being able to see the numbers associated with what you're putting into your body will give you more experience on how much steak you're eating or how much rice you're eating. That way, when you're doing it later, you can be like, oh, this is. I remember I've tracked this already. I already know how much this is, so I can eyeball it and be able to just be consistent with it later.
And it kind of cuts through our own BS. I'll try not to curse too many more times in this, but it cuts through our own BS, right? Like, I think the thing we found ourselves talking a lot about prior to this was how many of us have actually really done this for an entire week, for an entire month, really tracked to a T what we're eating, what constitutes as carbs, fats, proteins, the calories that we're getting, the calories that we're burning, and all of that. So I think it's pretty easy for us all as human beings to kind of, I don't know.
Can't hide.
Can't hide. That's right. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, it's easy for us to say, like, oh yeah, I'm on track, I'm doing this when ignorance is bliss, right? Like, when we know that, like, this, guys, we're trying to cut through the BS. We want to help you achieve those goals, and the only way to truly, truly make that happen is for at least a little bit of time to be brutally, brutally honest with yourself. At no fault, right? But brutally honest with yourself. Okay, I'm getting crazy again. Let's, what else we got?
All right,
What do we
guys,
next?
let's wrap this up. What I want to say, one more thing is, whether it's a high carb day or it's a low carb day, get most of your carbs in the beginning of the day, because that way you can use them throughout the day. Don't eat all of your carbs at the end of the night before you go to sleep, because when you go to sleep, you're not using those carbs effectively. So make sure that you get those closer to the beginning of the day. And then questions.
And surrounding the workouts.
And surrounding your workouts. That's most important.
What about the donut? When can I have a donut?
You can have a donut. You can have a donut, but make sure you have that donut 30 minutes before your workout or 30 minutes after your workout, so you are actually using it. Don't eat it first thing in the morning when you still have 3-4 hours before you get your workout in. Okay?
Well, let's talk about
So
that.
be mindful about that.
Feel good.
Yeah, like, okay, so I know Emily's trying to wrap this up, and I'm trying to keep this thing going, but we want you guys to really hear this. Sometimes I can't say no to a donut. Dylan, I've seen Dylan eat a donut. It's a rare thing, but yeah, every once in a while, right? We'll get that to happen. If you know that you're gonna, like, let's say you cannot say no to that sweet item that day. You're just craving it and craving it and craving it and craving it. When should I eat that thing? And I know you just said this, but let's talk that through just a little bit.
I mean, it's carbs, sugars. So if you're gonna eat it before you work out, or eat it before you go do something.
When not to eat it?
I mean, before bed. I mean, if you're not gonna use the sugar from it, it's gonna sit there.
It's gonna sit there. It's gonna turn into fat. And we know that we're all here to look good, feel good, live healthy lives, try and fight off illness. Now, the donut, those, we could talk another conversation about how the makeup of those, yeah, it's processed food, guys. Like that, if we're trying to fight off illness, we definitely don't want any of that stuff. But life is short. There are tasty, tempting things out there. So at least if you're going to give in once a week, and give in every once in a while, guys. It's all good. I do it. She does it. We all do it every once in a while. But at least make sure that you're not doing it to your own detriment. Use those carbs, earn those carbs, and then enjoy those carbs.
All right, guys, if you have questions, there's definitely going to be questions on this, because I know that's a ton of information. Please put those questions at the bottom of this video. Also, talk to your coaches at the gym. We'd be happy to answer. We're going to do, in 2 weeks, we're going to answer these questions, put out another podcast. A lot of you probably have the same thing, so no questions done. Ask them so that we're all on the same page here. Good luck, guys. We're excited for this next 30 days.
Let's get it.
Earn those carbs.
Have a great day.